There is this question which pops out again and again. I'm just giving this as an example. Part 2, when will be on air by Al Jazeera? Did Al Jazeera investigate only one topic or many? Can we expect more episodes or more films? So,
well, who knows what Al Jazeera is doing?
But, we don't know, but what we understand, there is a rumor, concerted rumor going on that this is not like one part, and there are like 5 or 6 episodes or parts that are going to come in and that are going to focus on different individuals close to Hasina. I'm not naming them. It's completely rubbish. There's no truth to it. All the prime minister's man, as far as we know, we have spoken to Al Jazeera. We know the producers, and there is no plan on, there are no other parts of the film. This is a single film, but with several components. The film is there. There is a podcast. There is a document archive. All the documents that were used in the investigation, they have released it, and they are going to do some follow-up reportage also. Either in video or in other formats, textual reports and all that. But this is absolutely not true. I'd like to tell the audience and whoever is listening, there is only one film, and that is All the Prime Minister's Man, and that is about Aziz Ahmed and his
my assumption, naive, that many people have suggested that it is that I assumed that Sheikh Hasina would immediately remove General Aziz Ahmed and kind of separate herself off from that family. The family is the crucial subject of the film. They are the crucial core of everything there, and clearly it would seem to be in the government and the Awami League's political interest to remove themselves from that family. Now that hasn't happened, and as I mentioned earlier, not only has that not happened, but they're just trying to vilify and discredit the film in whatever way they can, which is kind of a really odd strategy, because by doing that, the film, unless people are not going to kind of be satisfied until they get a clear explanation from the government and the Awami League, I would imagine. So it would seem to be very much in their best interest to respond to the claims in the film and make changes and initiate reforms. That is, if this film took place in most other countries which are more liberal democratic than Bangladesh, I accept. But if that kind of film was in Britain, you would have investigations, you would have people who had to be held to account, who would have to respond, and there would be a process of reform. And the government and the governing party would learn from it. Journalism is a great mechanism by which governments and political parties can learn about things that they may not necessarily know all about and improve themselves. That hasn't happened, and that's a real shame. Now, why didn't you, Tasneem, explain why you think that hasn't happened?
And same with, we get questions like why Netra News has investigated this, why Netra News has investigated corruption by Awami League leaders, though we have, I think we have at least some stories, two at least I can think of, on BNP leaders. The way it works is that a investigative outlet like ours, or Al Jazeera Investigative Unit, we actually wait for sources to come forward, give us documents, give us evidence. It is not that we decide that now we are going to do a story on this specific individual and let's find out what we can on him. So there are questions like why we don't do an investigation on this specific person who is an opposition leader, for example. The answer is very simple. If you have any evidence, if you have any documents proving corruption or abuses that you think will make a good investigative story, you are very, very welcome to contact us, or you can contact Al Jazeera, or you can contact Channel 4, BBC, CNN. There are so many really good, credible organizations out there. There is another question I'd like to take. Sohail Ahmed, he asks, why Army League is not accepting the Al Jazeera English report. Appreciate if you can also discuss about it. So the Army League is not accepting the Al Jazeera English report. That's a very interesting question. David, you want to take it?
Well, he's talking about the film, presumably.
Yes. Yeah. Al Jazeera English report is
yeah. I mean,
no, because I think I actually disagree with you there, because I was not expecting. Very interestingly, I was interviewed by Al Jazeera here in Malmo. By the way, I mean, this is our editorial office. Whoever is watching, this is Netra News' editorial office in Malmo. So Al Jazeera, when they interviewed me, one of the questions they asked me is, like, what do you think Sheikh Hasina is going to do? And this is that didn't make the final cut. I said I don't think Hasina will actually be able to remove Aziz, because Aziz is one of the 4 or 5 people, the security czars, I call them. Benazir is another. No matter what they do, no matter what kind of crimes they commit and what kind of like criminal activities they aid and abet. I mean, you have to remember, these are the people who have selected Hasina to be in power right now. I mean, she's not an elected prime minister. The government is not elected. I mean, we have seen what has happened in 2018 December, right? Like, I mean, this is not a secret. I don't think, like anyone with a, bone of honesty in their body will try to say that it was an election. So, and that was fully engineered by the police. Already the commissioner who was in charge of that, he has been made the head of this National Security Committee or something, or a council. Aziz, there is talk about, like elevating him to the chief of defense staff, which is like the chief of all the 3 forces together. This is what I told them, and I still believe that Sheikh Hasina is not necessarily in a position to take, take action against him. So what is happening, and this is very interesting. I mean, what they are doing right now is that they're, rejecting the report, in a way proving that these are people Sheikh Hasina is not going to move against. These are people Army League government will not dare touch. So that is what I think. Another interesting question is, why Shakhat Hussain Faisal, he wants to know why Netra News is only involved in this investigation with Al Jazeera. I really don't know what you mean by this.
One thing I think has to be clear is that Netra News is only 1 year old, actually, and initially there was any contact between Al Jazeera and ourselves, I think this is true of you as well, is that we were individual journalists.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
We may have discussed the possibility of a Netra News thing, but that hadn't come to fruition. We weren't in any way kind of connected to Netra News, and it's just one of those odd issues of timing. Netra News happened to be, because the film took such a long time. I mean, it's a very unusual for the film to take such a long period of time, which is partly obviously linked to to COVID and everything. But we were started off as individual journalists who had a speciality on Bangladesh and whatever, and so that was the way in which we were initially connected in at all to the film. And then Netra News came, and now we are both editors, and you are the executive editor of Netra News. So it appears that it is kind of a Netra News Al Jazeera thing. And I can understand why people might kind of come to that conclusion, but that actually is not the case. It kind of is just coincidence happens. Now, clearly, we are Netra News, and we are obviously writing about the film, and we were both in the film. So that is really our kind of connection, and that's why, we're...
Yeah, and one more thing. I mean, there are some material, I'm not going to detail that, but some of the materials which are actually obtained by Netra News was later shared with Al Jazeera. And that, I mean, let's be very clear, we would have shared it with any other network, like any other global network, even local network. We would have done that. So
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, we would work with, now that we are Netra News, we as Netra News or as individual journalists, separate from the organization, we would work with any be a broadcaster, of course we would. It just
Yeah.
happens that Al Jazeera had this story, and clearly we weren't going to, for whatever reason, we were obviously going to agree to work with them if we got that opportunity. I mean, Al Jazeera is a very credible broadcaster, and the unit, the AJ, I really encourage people to go and look through the films that the Al Jazeera investigation unit have done, because they are around lots of different countries, first of all. So the idea that somehow there's a particular focus on Bangladesh is ridiculous. So lots of different countries, lots of different issues, and involve a lot of secret filming. And they are very good. I mean, they are really good pieces of journalistic work.
With impact also. I mean, they did excellent investigation in Australian far right. Recently, they did an amazing investigation in Maldives. I remember that. Then Kenya, extrajudicial execution in Kenya. That was like, I mean, anyone who follows global journalism, anyone who follows investigative journalism, knows about Al Jazeera investigative unit, and they're highly credible. And also Phil Rees, who now heads the Al Jazeera investigative unit, he's the director there. I mean, he is, known as one of the giants of investigative journalism, especially on TV. So
I'm not sure he'll be happy that you mentioned his name.
No, well, I actually have never met him, but I know about him.
I can also say that we've been saying such wonderful things about Al Jazeera. I mean, that is my honest opinion.
It is. Like, yeah, I mean,
there are lots of other BBC. If this had been made by them, I'd be saying the same thing. But I'm only saying that because there's so much. I have to say, there's rubbish and ridiculous comments made about Al Jazeera, which is just so untrue. And I think that anybody who makes those claims and wants to test them out, just go to their website and look to the documentaries they've made.